guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are all doing really well. As you can see, I've got a special guest here on my channel. I've got Ravi Sharma from Personal Finance with Ravi Sharma, which is his YouTube channel, and not only that, he is my buyer's agent as well. So he helped me last year purchase 3 investment properties, and I thought it would be good to have him back on my channel and talk all things property related. So hey Ravi, did you want to maybe introduce yourself to my audience for those people who may not know who you are and what you do?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much for having me on the channel. Hey guys, my name's Ravi, and yes, my channel is called Personal Finance with Ravi Sharma. I'm based in Sydney, Australia, and we worked together on purchasing a few properties for yourself last year, which I think have performed really well.
Yeah.
And I bring out weekly videos about passive income, cryptocurrency, and real estate. So yeah, it's good to be back on.
Awesome, thank you. And for those of you who are interested, I will be leaving Ravi's details, all his social media accounts down below, and his YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe because his YouTube channel is quite insightful in terms of, you know, property and whatnot. So let's get started on today's video. So over on my Instagram page, I asked you guys to ask me some questions for Ravi, so that we can answer them and debunk some of these myths that are going around in terms of the property space. So let's get started. Now, in no particular order, the first one is tips for someone that's just starting out, getting to sort of get themselves familiar with the property world.
Yeah, it's a fantastic place to start because obviously for a lot of people it's not really too easy to get into property because you need a large capital to start. But I think people sort of jump straight into the research component. They're like, oh Ravi, what's the best suburbs? Where do I buy? Where do I buy? And what I think people miss out on is trying to get their mindset right. So really getting a strategy, get an investment plan first. And yes, you have to save money. That's just part of the process. But instead of jumping into looking for what suburbs you need to invest into, you need to take a step back, really understand why you're investing. Is it just so, you know, because someone told you should invest, you should put some money there because, you know, it's just smart to put it into Australian property or wherever you're watching from. But I think taking a step back, really assessing what your goals are and really make them, you know, smart goals. You know, have some time around what those metrics look like in terms of when you want to achieve those and what that actually looks like before you jump into hotspots and the best places to buy.
Yeah, nice. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Now moving on to the next question, we've got, how long will this property boom last? It's definitely a hot topic at the moment, so...
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I actually have put up a video recently on my channel about when I think it will exactly end, and of course no one really knows that. All we can do is look at some data, look at some real life examples as well. For us as a buyer's agent, we're very fortunate because I get to speak to investors, I get to speak to people who want to start investing, but I also get to speak to agents and you know, professionals in the space and see what's actually happening versus what's being reported in the mainstream media. And I guess the short answer, and I like providing context, so definitely go check out that video, but the short answer of it is I don't think we're ending anytime soon. I think we still have about 3 to 5 years, and you know, 3 to 5 years of solid growth. Maybe that growth slows down, but it's definitely not ending anytime soon.
Okay, right. And in terms of your buyer's agency, how's that sort of been impacted? Yeah,
it's been an interesting one. Like for us, I think the last time I was on the channel, we were getting some inquiries, but you know, it was very slow, and it was during that COVID lockdown. So for anyone that moved and made actual purchases in the COVID lockdown, did really well. You did really well. And I kept urging people, even on my channel, through my content, through my social channels, guys, get in because look at what's happening. You know, all this money is going to find its way into asset price inflation. For those who listened, did really well. But essentially, we went from a period of having some inquiries, some people wanting to be involved, to now absolutely getting smashed with inquiries. There are like not enough sessions to have strategy calls, and it's been awesome, but I think it's also led to a lack of listings. So there's not enough properties being transacted, there's not enough properties being listed. So that's where I think people need to really understand their goals and not pay above their means and just buy things because someone told them it was a good idea, including myself.
That's some pretty good advice there. Thank you for that. Now let's move on to the next question. So how to best utilize the Super Saver scheme? Can this be used for investments?
From what I know, it's only used for your principal place of residence. So if you want to purchase a place to live in, you can use the Super Saver scheme.
So before we jump into that, maybe explain a little bit about what the Super Saver scheme actually is.
Yeah, so it's basically where if you're getting paid, so in Australia, if you're getting paid by your employer, you can actually make contributions towards your superannuation. So for a lot of people watching internationally, that's your retirement fund. And so if you put more money into there, you actually get taxed less, right? And then from there, you're able to use that extra payment you've made to then come back into property. So you can use that as a deposit. So effectively what you're trying to do is you're trying to avoid having to pay a higher amount of tax legally. And then you're able to bring that back into using it as a deposit for your first place. Now, it used to be $30,000, but as of a few days ago, it's now changed to $50,000. So you can contribute that amount, take that out, and you save yourself a lot of tax. But you can't use it for investment properties. And my personal conversation with you, as well as with a lot of clients, is don't get attracted to these buyer grants and these government schemes, because you need to understand that it's really pushing one agenda, which is help developers, because that amount of money will allow you to purchase maybe an inner city apartment. And you know, when you're looking at it from an investment point of view, it hasn't really performed that well. So you've got to look outside of that. And if 99% of people are doing one thing, they are going to get the results that 99% of people do. So if you want to achieve financial freedom, which is the 1% life, like you are, then you need to do things differently.
Yeah, right. And I think even on your YouTube channel, you really advocate this as well, you know, not looking for all of these schemes and not getting caught out by...
Yeah, definitely. Exactly that. You know, it's all well and good when, you know, they get announced and you're like, oh my God, the government's supporting us and, you know, it's free money. But in reality, the government always wins, the house always wins. And yeah, it's unfortunate because people with a lack of education and lack of accountability really lose out in the long term.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. So moving on to the next question we've got. So thoughts on the increase in interest rates and what that means for the property market?
Yeah, so many people are confused and also, you know, very scared by, oh my God, interest rates are going up. And, you know, some Australian banks, the big four banks, have started increasing their fixed rates. And basically, for anyone that doesn't know, fixed rates are locked in rates for a certain amount of time. So that could be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And a lot of banks are now increasing those ever so slightly because they also see that, hey, the growth that we've had in asset price inflation and housing prices means we need to slow this down, and they foresee maybe the RBA, our central bank, will increase those rates, those cash rates, which means interest rates need to increase as well so they can protect their profits. But what I say is don't focus on the interest rates so much. You need to focus on investment plans, really figure out what your cash flow looks like. So if you're looking for a property that's already negatively geared, you're already behind. Now the interest rates that keep moving up, you're going to fall further and further behind. So it's really important to understand those mechanics, cash flow and capital growth. And then when you're looking at interest rates rising, we're still in a period of cheap debt. You know, like when I purchased my first property about 6 or 7 years ago, I was paying 6% interest rates. Right? So when I'm looking at these rates and I'm going, are you guys kidding me? You guys are scared because we're at 2.5%, 3%, which could potentially go up to 3.5%. This is nothing. So always have emergency funds, understand your cash flow, and cash flow is king. Capital growth is important, but the cash flow is what you need.
Okay, cool. Interesting stuff there. For my viewers and my audience who are interested in, you know, trying to find a buyer's agent, what is it that they should look for when, you know, trying to, you know, get their buyer's agent?
Yeah, really good question. I think it extends from just a buyer's agent. I think it looks at your accountant, your mortgage broker, and your financial planner. My biggest thing to people, and I always say this, is ask them what they have in that game. You know, ask them that if they're going to help you achieve financial freedom through real estate, how many properties do you actually have? What's your journey been so far?
I like that.
Because I think when you're going and getting taught or you're listening to people that haven't done it themselves, then you're really going, well, taking advice from someone who's never actually experienced what they're promising for you to experience. And so that's my biggest thing is if you vibe with them, you get along with them, you understand their, you know, that they work well and whatever, that's only part of it. You need to understand what they have, what skin in the game they have. Now, very important is when people get asked this, they get very defensive, and they're like, "Whoa, how can you question me?"
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And that's, you know, another big warning sign. If they're not transparent with you, they are hiding something. Either they're getting paid from somewhere else in commissions and rebates. But yeah, my thing is, if you're gonna get a professional to help you, that's great, because you need to outsource that sort of stuff, really optimize this process and treat it like a company. And if you're gonna do that, do it with people you can trust, and they should be transparent with you, letting you know what they actually have.
I like that. I like that you mentioned that you need to go with someone that's actually done it for themselves as well. I think that's one of the main reasons why I went with you, because obviously seeing your property portfolio, it's obviously something that I really aspire to have as well. So yeah, no, good point there. Now, moving on to the next question. Is it still location? Someone who can't afford to buy close to the city, what can they really do?
I think, yeah, it is very important. Location has always been important, but for the wrong reasons, right? People have always viewed this as going, oh, well, I can be close to a train station. Yeah, but what happens if the people around in that area don't even need a train station because they all have cars, right? These are the questions that people need to go beyond the traditional way of thinking, which is, oh, you know, it's got a close, you know, a shopping center, it's got schools, but what happens if the demographic doesn't really need those things? And that's where we get it wrong, right? So when we're looking at location, we need to also look at our budgets and our plans. So if I can get a, you know, really good location, but I have to get a 1-bedroom apartment, but then I really find out that the demographics are requiring a 3-bedroom house, but I can't afford that, well, sorry, the location's not great for you. You need to look at how all of those metrics all meet up, and that's exactly what we did with your purchases. You know, we had a budget and we couldn't get that budget to go, hey, we're going to go into the middle of Sydney. I don't think anyone's budget can do that anyway. But when we go into these areas, we're not just looking at past performance, we're looking at the incoming supply, we're looking at things like cash flow, which is so important and often overlooked from a location perspective. You know, if you're in a location where capital growth is great, as an investor, if you have no demand for rentals, your rents are always going to decline or they're going to stay stagnant. We want areas that are going to grow in that rental demand, which eventually pushes your cash flow up as well. Yeah,
right. Okay. So basically, for anyone that's wanting to purchase closer to the city and they don't have enough money saved up, what can they actually do?
Save more. The reality is that if you are priced out of a particular market, then you need to look at other markets. And this is where the advantage of having a buyer's agent, whether, you know, it's not a sales call, you don't have to hire me at all. It's more so looking at all of your options. You know, the reality is that people feel comfortable and that's where they buy, right? And that's why, you know, suburbs in your backyard. But if you are priced out of those markets, you need to look at other markets. But unfortunately, that takes time. So that's where you need to outsource that sort of stuff to other buyers agents or people that are specialized in that area, or you get the 99% of results, right? Which is people in Australia will only ever have 1 or 2 properties, and that does not equal financial freedom.
Okay, cool. Thanks for shedding some light on that one. And the final question that we have, this is probably one of the most asked questions that I received, and that is, what is Ravi's strategy and his goal or his end goal for his property portfolio?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I've made some videos, or at least hinted at what my strategy looks like, but in a nutshell, to give you guys value, my strategy is that I've sort of been in that accumulation phase where I'm trying to get as many assets as possible. So you're in the same phase, you're trying to accumulate as many assets and you're trying to control as much asset. Now, I don't believe, and I'm not a big advocate for people going, that is the only asset class I will operate in. So some people are very pro, just get real estate, it's the best thing ever. I like real estate, I think it's great. But I think if you really want to make financial freedom a reality moving forward, you need to diversify. Not because, you know, you just want to mitigate risk, but because if you can't afford to get another loan for another year, do you just have your money sit in a bank account? No, you need that money to continue working. It's the velocity of money, right? So for me, it's important that financial freedom looks like me doing what I love, when I want, and how I want. And real estate allows me to do that because I get cash flow plus the capital growth. So I guess the end goal for me is to own my own place outright, debt-free, and have a substantial portfolio that provides, you know, enough passive income for me to live, you know, lavishly or nicely as part of my goals. But I will also build out positions as part of the real estate to go across into cryptocurrency and collectibles. I like Pokemon cards, so I invest in that. And so it's just a matter of having a debt-free home. I will never buy a house to live in with a debt.
Okay.
This is quite often overlooked. They say, oh no, it's an asset, you know, and you know, I've got my place and look how much it's grown. It's a liability. And you know, technical definition of it is a liability because it takes money from your pocket. So as part of my strategy, I have no intentions to buy a place to live in for at least the next couple of years. I'm rent vesting, so if you want to know more about that,
ask you that,
I think you've made some videos on the channel. That's exactly what you're doing. It's exactly what I'm doing, and I think in this next 3 to 5 years, if you really want to take advantage of it, obviously non-financial advice, is looking at how do I rent vest and build my property portfolio.
I mean, if this is coming from someone that's got a property portfolio of about 12 properties, 12, 13 properties, and he's rent vesting, then, I mean...
I know, people ask me as well, they're like, you live in Sydney, why don't you just buy a place? And it just doesn't make financial sense. I enjoy what I do right now and how I live. So if I can get that flexibility and not have a loan or consolidate my risk into one property, I'm taking that option every day of the week.
And guys, honestly, I received so many questions about this, and hopefully that sort of shed some light in terms of rent vesting and why we both are rent vesting. But that's basically all the questions that I've had for you, Ravi. Really enjoyed having you here on my channel, and if you are interested in checking out Ravi's stuff, which I highly recommend, then be sure to check out his YouTube channel, Personal Finance with Ravi Sharma. I'll leave it all in the description box down below. And thank you, Ravi, so much again for being on my channel.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me. And if you guys want to check out the opposite of this, you can head over to my channel. We've done a questionnaire around a real conversation around your journey, but also what financial freedom has looked like as part of, you know, building a real estate portfolio, side hustle. So I think you guys will really enjoy that. So definitely head across to my channel, which you can find in the link in the description below.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Bye.